and welcome to Two Signal with Glenn
and Rebel.
We're very excited to be here. This is our first show and we have lots of shows lined up. Before we go into it, we are going to tell you what Two Signal is and what our purpose is for this show and the topic for today when we return after this intro. So, Rebel, here we are.
Here we are.
Mic is on, camera's on. We're finally doing it.
Yeah, long overdue.
Yes, we've been wanting to start a podcast for some time now, and we're locked down, so nowhere to go. We might as well use the extra time that we have on our hands. Yeah, so Two Signal, what does it mean, and what is the show going to be about?
Yeah, so to Signal will be a show where you and I will record things, I guess, in this format that we would have normally had privately. But the essence of the show will be to discuss things that we observe about ourselves, things that we've observed externally, and to sort of try and get to the bottom of it if it's something of value to us and something of value for someone else, they can get from it. But the ultimate goal is to kind of see things as they are and look at them and sometimes laugh at ourselves at our hidden motives or intentions into things, not only, I guess, personally, but externally as well.
That's correct, yeah. And just to add to that, the topics will range from politics, culture, arts, identity, all these different things. And we just want to signal out some truth that could be overlooked at. And we're not talking about it from a place of this is good or this is bad or giving advice. We're just just interested in how these things affect us on a personal level.
Exactly. It's more or less our observation into ourselves, and it's by no means a right or wrong thing, but something that we observe. People may agree, people may not, but the ultimate goal is to sort of bring a light to something that we see that doesn't make sense to us, either internally or externally, and sort of have a conversation about it. Yeah.
Perfect. And also we will be having these discussions over drinks. So today it's we're recording in the morning. So normally in the morning, first thing is coffee, of course. And this time we're having Ethiopian coffee.
Let's do it. I would prefer the wine, but I guess
in the morning?
It's 5 p.m. somewhere.
Well, it's 10 a.m. in Sydney, so we'll be having coffee. This coffee looks thin.
Looks strong, though.
Okay.
It's a strong black coffee.
Strong black.
That's normally the name I get from other people. Strong and black.
Okay. All right. So the topic for today, as you've seen in the title, self-help culture. We've called it culture because it's literally become a culture now. It's it's part of, it's a normal thing, you know.
Yeah.
And why we want to talk about it is from, there's a bunch of questions, I'll go into it. So the first question is, what drives us to seek self-help? In your situation?
Your situation. I guess personally, and what I've observed externally as well, is what tends to drive or what has driven me before to seek out information or to seek out guidance or methodology or a way to get somewhere, because there is some sort of intention, but the intention can come from an ambition level. It can come from feelings of sort of insufficient in comparison to, inadequate, so there may be some sort of feeling of guilt, may at times be as well trauma, and anxiety, fear, all those kind of things kind of combined. We go out looking for someone to give us a methodology and give us a certain path that we can adhere to, and then we can hopefully get to a level of understanding or change. I mean, the ultimate goal is to change.
Yeah.
I think because
To improve.
there's an internal discomfort within us when we feel discomfort, or if we see a disorder, then our inherent thing is not to look at ourselves, but look at things solved by other people that have experienced it, and try and gather as much information as possible. But the general talk, obviously, this is what drives us, or what has driven me before, and what I see driven. What about for you?
Yeah, so as you say, it's discomfort. Yeah, the common thing that we all share. At some point of our life, we experience discomfort.
Yeah.
And when we experience discomfort, the natural response is to seek help and to find ways to cope with it. And so, yeah, there are times in my life where I felt uncertain and about my future or my plans, my career goals, and I felt that I didn't have control of where my future was heading towards, and you need some guidance for somebody to tell you steps to follow. And because of these books really make you feel like if you follow that path, you really will get to your dream, or you will overcome this difficulty. Or if it's fear, for example, you will overcome this fear if you follow these steps. So you do that. The seeking and how we get there, we can all relate in that sense.
Yeah.
And once you're there, once you are listening to these motivational speakers or life coaches, or the book, if you're reading the books on methods and guidelines, once you're there, did you find it helpful? Did it help you move in the right direction? What was the experience for you?
Yeah, look, my experience with it is firstly was to seek out, as I said before, is because I did feel this discomfort, or I did have this place that I wanted to be. So I looked at my life and I recognized this is where I should be compared to where I am. So there was that disconnect. So how do I bridge that gap?
Yeah.
And when things are not as linear steps as what they seem in reality, what I want is someone to give me a guidance, or someone that's done it before in my similar position to give me a guidance on how to get there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, obviously, in technological things or mechanical things, we can certainly seek out help, and they can tell us this is the steps, because there's certainty, there's it's a very linear process, right?
Yeah.
So you're learning and you're progressing as well. So in that, you're acquiring knowledge, and the more knowledge you have, the more better that you can use it. But when it comes to an internal conflict that you have of what should be and what is, you kind of realize that acquiring more knowledge only complicates the thing, and over time it makes the thing become an end rather than a means to an end. So the reading and the gathering up of information and ideals and personalities and images that come along with to achieve what you want to do ultimately hinders you, and it becomes an end. It by itself becomes an achievement. Like, look at me, like I'm improving myself. I'm making progress, or I'm making a movement, or I'm achieving this. And the books that we read, the seminars that we go to, the conventions that we go to, sometimes become a kind of mantle for us to show. It gives us a luxury lie. So the luxury lie is that we're actually doing something for our thing. But whether or not if we look at it truthfully, is it really working, or are we further delaying, or how are we caught up in it? Is sort of the question. So, but what's your experience with it?
Yeah, I do remember sort of with you when you had all those books. We used to watch a bunch of people on YouTube, and it was very inspiring.
It
gives you an energy. It
does,
makes you feel you're gonna get control over your life and you're really going to change things. But it's not, in reality, it doesn't really transform, or it doesn't, I guess the product, the end is not real. It depends on you. But it gives you energy and it boosts you up. It builds up your confidence. So for me, it was when I was looking for those things, it gave me hope. It gave me a sense of control or steps on what I need to follow. So I was watching all these videos on how to start a business in 10 days and from nothing at all and how to become very successful. By following these things and by, making plans, I felt that I was in the right path. At least I'm doing something. It gave me a sense of like I'm doing something towards my dream. It also made me feel unhappy with where I was. I didn't want to go to work. I just want to do my own thing. So there was conflict and there was me trying to work on my dream. But did it really help me? Probably not, but it made me feel that I was making progress.
And it matters also on how we measure it, I think. In a sense, obviously the reading and the doing and the creating of habits are good. But ultimately, I think, is you're wanting to get somewhere, right? So you're wanting to come to a position or place of where you have where you feel comfortable, where you feel you've achieved, or where you get to a place where you should be. So when there is that thing, the measure sometimes is the problem, because what we think is the way that we measure it is, look, I'm implementing these things that I've read in the book. So we kind of forget the thing, and the focus becomes this of doing the right things with what the books have outlined, or the methodology. So the methodology becomes the focus rather than what the end goal was. So am I doing the right things based on these books? Am I doing this thing? Am I doing it the right way, the wrong way? Is there another habit I can implement to combat why I'm not doing this methodology? So they sort of become a loop in themselves where we acquire information, and we have abundance of information now thanks to technology. So the next question to ask is whether or not does self-improvement bring about a complete change in us, or does it give us a sense of progress?
Self-improvement is progress, I think. It's never going to be, I think, and also with progress, how do you know you arrived? You're always inquiring more, a little bit of truth here and there, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of push, a little bit of habit to add, something new to try. You're forever in search, becoming, adding value and learning more, acquiring, being interested. And we're on this path of perfection. But I haven't seen anybody who really, really changed, or who can say, this really helped me. Maybe they picked up a new habit and they are consistent in their habit, but for me, it doesn't work. It has not changed me. It definitely confused me more, and I had lots of information that I didn't know what to do with. I had no clarity.
It does become a burden.
What I needed was clarity. And it came to a point where I realized I'm only going to find clarity by looking within rather than seeking from outside to come and fill me. I had to start. I was not asking the right questions. I was more interested in the how, show me the way, rather than what is missing, what am I trying to do, what is my dream. Simplifying things, but I was complicating things.
So the question in a sense becomes a guide to your solution. I think with self improvement, that there is a level of not being aware.
Yeah.
Because you're so caught up in what you lack.
Yeah.
And what the self-help industry does is it offers you tips, as we mentioned earlier. Then what happens is when you get offered that tip, is you're only going to further realize how you don't have those things yet.
Yeah.
So it keeps you on a loop. So you went in there to seek a solution, but then you get further justification or further reasons for how you are not this ultimate man.
Yeah.
So as soon as you don't have the habits or the tactics or the way of being, it makes you not self-worth in terms of valuing yourself, I guess.
Yeah. You feel that you're missing and you need more.
Yeah. So you lack this self-worth. So then you need to acquire. Now with improvement, I mean, the ultimate goal is, say, if you want to be productive, so is the ultimate goal is to get to a stage when you're productive. If you want to be happy, the ultimate goal is to be happy. So in itself, there is an end.
Yeah.
But if we continually looking for these things to improve, then we can kind of get trapped in a loop where we're acquiring the main thing, and the feeling of progress, the feeling of making small change gives us the comfort and the illusion that we're actually doing something.
Yeah. So it's not bringing about change. It's just, again, it's just progress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think obviously we'll touch on the next question. But
so, when I guess this leads us to, is change instant then? And in terms of, perhaps in the more physical world, change can be instant. But what about in the psychological world? Is change instant?
Yes, it is instant, and I say it with caution is there has to be a level of understanding of yourself to be able to change, and that can't come about because someone has told you tips on how to get there.
Yeah.
Right? But if you are internally you come to an understanding that something doesn't work, or this thing that I'm doing is not of something that I should pay attention to or do, or it's not leading me anywhere, you immediately let go of things, right? Similar to obviously what self-help, with the self-help books, the more when you come to a point where you realize that this thing is bringing you to a place of just progress and further seeking and further reading, and when you read that, or when you understand that into yourself, the ultimate goal is, hey, look, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
So you can that's an instant change.
Yeah.
Because you're coming out of a place of one thing, and the means becomes an end, and we're always striving and that kind of thing. So the moment that you realize it, it's like you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need it anymore. Same thing with if you go into fitness or one, or sometimes some people may be caught up into the idea of getting the gear or getting the exact membership, but so essentially, like, you can just go for a run. There's avenues, but what we want is, like, we want the perfection of things, because it delays it further for us. You know, it delays it further, but it makes us feel, look, I haven't got the $300 Nike shoes.
That helps me around. So when I get it, I'll get to it.
I'll get to it because that specific Nike shoes has this quality. See what we've done now? We've moved away from the problem. Like, I'm unhealthy already. So now that my focus is on acquiring the best quality, researching the quality of the shoes, on clothing and shirt and protein and all those kind of things. So we've now moved away so far from what our end goal was, is just to be fit. And there are many ways of being fit, or there are many ways to achieve something. But the moment that you realize, look, you're moving away from what the intention, what the ultimate goal is, you drop those things off. And the question is, you want to be fit.
Yeah.
What's the answer? What's the pressure? That the thing that it offers is like you need to do it. So if you go to, if you're sick and you go to a hospital and they say, look, if you don't exercise, the consequences that you'll end up here, or something will happen to you. So when the consequence is there, what's our immediate action? We don't go seeking for how to get help.
Yeah.
Right. So you do those things.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't have to get to a point where you're pressured. Right. Some people realize like this thing has to be this way, so therefore I shouldn't enact this particular thing. I think when you come to a realization, I don't need all this information. I just need to be able to be in the chaos, in the pressure, like flailing. And once I flail, I'll figure it out. And the path is there for you. Because what happens is with the self-improvement gurus or self-help books, what they are offering you is a glimpse of an experience that they went through, right? And that gets sold as a path, like a roadmap that you should. But all the time, that was an experience, right? So because it was an experience, it's never there. And experiences change, people change. That person has changed. I'm sure if that person went back and acted those things, I'm pretty sure he can't do it because there was a different level of energy, urgency, consequence attached to it.
Yeah.
That he did those things.
Yeah.
But because he's put on a gun to say, hey, how did you get there?
Yeah.
And he can only tell you the highlight reels. So he can tell you the highlights of what he did, but there are many, many secrets that are left out. Like what pressured him, what level of... There's a whole set of DNAs that person has. I don't mean DNA scientifically, but just the DNA of that person, like that person, how that person is.
Yeah.
So there is all those sort of things that you have to realize, and unless you're willing to understand and come to a section where you realize the problem and what you're looking for, and no one is there to help you, and acquiring more information is only going to burden you, then we can't change instantly. Yeah. Right? Then it becomes a luxurious lie of progress, like I'm moving, I'm reading, I'm moving. So
yeah, that's so true. And for you, I think it was instant, because when you realize that you were just reading, and to be honest, when you were reading these things, when you were feeling inspired, you were sort of like high and low. There were days where you were energized and you had all these ideas and you were going to do this and you were going to do that. And then you had your low days where you felt defeated, and because these things that you do, you're not doing it. It was a roller coaster. But once you came to this awareness, these people are not really giving you the steps you need. And it's not their fault, but it's just that they can't really help you. They don't know where you are, right? When you came to this awareness, you grabbed all your self-help books and you just threw them out. And since then, you are not looking for help from outside. You became your own help. And you are stable. And you're making progress. And not just progress, like you're actually changed. And that changed is leading you to new places. You're not stuck in that treadmill. And the same thing for me when I used to plan, and I was saying to you, and I guess for me, most of it is to do with my desire to do my own thing and desire to create and things like that. And I say, I need to have the right machine, I need to have this, and I need to have that. And I would wait, a year would go by because I'm waiting until I get the right machine. And I'm not making any steps until I get the right machine. So if I was serious about wanting to do what I wanted to do, if I'm serious about anything at all, I would get up and do it. It's you see, you act, right? there's no progress that is required.
Yeah.
It's like if you see the danger in something, you move away. And in a sense, I feel that self-help is dangerous because it's a trap.
Yeah,
and you can be trapped in it. And now that I view it as danger that is going to trap me, I move. I don't seek it anymore.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
And also the fact that we're in a place and time where previously, in terms of how information or how self-help was sold or broadcasted, it was a limited avenue. So therefore you didn't get, because the distribution wasn't there, the amount of people that would sell it to you was limited. It would either be a book or someone would get a seminar or something like that, but it wasn't freely available. Now, as soon as we had technology, social media, YouTube, and all those sort of things, the thing that became so limited became abundant all of a sudden, and we just got bombarded with a whole heap of things within us, and a whole heap of ideas, a whole heap of things that further confused people and never really helped people. Now, there may be people that do change, meaning, say, someone that's already on a path to somewhere, they may get some help, right? But you're not seeking self-help for its end purpose. So you're already, say you're an elite athlete or elite businessman or whatnot, those kind of people wouldn't seek self-help, right? So they would be flailing and they'll be sort of figuring it out and what they are. And they would go master their thing. So there's a definite love of skill, and they would do that thing.
That's true.
But for us, the moment that we have a goal, the moment that we want to do thing, and we get stuck, what we think is that we get sold on the idea that we need solutions, we need ideas, further ideas, more information. So therefore, further complicating it. So the world of self-help or self-improvement, what they sell us is the idea of things are linear. And we can go 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, and there's a methodology. So long as you act it properly, we can get there. But we don't realize that things are not linear. There's chaos in it. There's a whole heap of unpredictability, luck, and all these sort of things that come into play. We just ignore that. We ignore that because it doesn't fit the narrative. But we say there seems to be always 7 rules to achieve something. But who made up these 7? You know, or it's always 5 or 10 of the most best habits, or 5 best morning habits. So we kind of get sold on this thing. It's a step. It's a gradual step. So long as that we do these 7 things, then eventually what will happen is we will linearly get there. But that's not how our world works. That's not how people operate. No one is the same. And the world and the market and everything is not linear. It's never a constant, like an expectation of what you expect today doesn't happen tomorrow. So when you go into reality, when you take that knowledge into reality, because it's someone else's experience, it's already old. Reality is always new, right? So we can't apply it. So there may be truth, but in terms of application, and the question always is, where do you want to go? And if you kind of understand where you want to go, you automatically remove it. I think it's a reduction of other things, because you know where you're going. And we kind of get sold onto this idea of, what I hate is this idea of, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And somewhat that the way that that thing is being sold to us is it's a comforter, and it comes from fear. If I don't achieve that thing, at least I would have enjoyed. So we in ourselves already fear that we may not get that thing. So because I felt I may not get that thing. I always say, look, I'm enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
I don't care about the destination. But
Yeah.
what was no one goes on a destination or a journey.
Yeah.
If there is no destination, so
Yeah.
you just be at home.
Yeah.
But because you have this sense of fear that it might not happen.
Yeah.
And if I follow these steps, it might not happen. So someone comes to you and says, hey, look, forget about it. Okay, forget about it. The main thing to focus is enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Because the destination, once you get there, doesn't matter. But what set you out? What inspired you initially?
Yes.
But the moment that we fear it, so it's about sort of understanding internally the kind of games that we play with ourselves.
Yeah.
And also some people play with us, may not be intentionally, but they give us a comforter.
Yeah.
So everything is, we want to be shielded so that we don't actually feel fear or might not be. So everything is sold to us in terms of like attention and like this money, these things, and like enjoy the journey and these things.
Yeah.
But where you going?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I was buying those books, I lost where I was going because I started from a best place. Now, hindsight is obviously a beautiful thing, but when I started buying those books, there was a level of ambition that I wanted to go, and I thought these things, because they were recommended, they were one of those best New York bestsellers, or recommended by many other people that have read them. So you read them as a badge of honor to get somewhere, and you feel like you should read these things.
Yeah.
And you read them, and in the process, again, in hindsight, obviously I'm talking about it, but in the process, what happened was I forgot about where I was going. Then it became about the journey. Let me enjoy the journey. And when it became about the journey, it meant every little feeling of discomfort that I had in the process had to be soothed. So if I felt doubt, or if I felt directionless or lost or something, I needed someone to come and say, hey man, work hard. Work hard, motivate yourself, do this, do that, meditate 20 minutes. Like this, it becomes a soothing, luxurious lie that I keep telling myself.
Yeah.
Then over time, because I'm soothing myself along the journey,
Yeah.
I forgot
Where
my
you
destination.
started. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we live in a society that glorifies progress, you know, small steps. As long as you're making small steps towards, you know, whether it is your dream or whatever that you want to achieve, that's okay, you'll be okay. And we're always, like comforting ourselves, we'll be okay, it's all right. And nobody wants to get real. Nobody wants to say, you know what, this shit doesn't work. And we need to be, I feel that people, as you said, because people don't want to face reality, and because it's very uncomfortable to face it and to see it for what it is, we shy away from it. And instead of dealing with the real problem or the root cause, we are interested in masking it and, you know, and speaking positive words, changing your mindset to be positive thinker. You know, if I say this thing, if I thought this way, everything's gonna be all right. But I guess to wrap this conversation, what we're saying is the question matters more than the how, and it's the shading away and finding clarity from yourself rather than seeking out is where you find your path. That's my conclusion. How do you want to sort of wrap it up?
The way that I want to wrap it up is, I think it's best to first figure out where do you want to go, and once you figure out where you want to go, you don't have to create or be a particular person or type of person, or create a montage of a personality or a self-image to achieve that. You don't need to do that. As long as you kind of see where you're going, like all the other information that you get, it's nothing. It's nothing. And if you can see that those that are successful never worried about the techniques or the prescriptions they got, It wasn't about that. So they just went and figured it out. And the whole show is not to say, don't go do this, or it's not an instruction from us, a further instruction from us to tell you don't do this, do this. But I think to see the dangers of getting trapped in progress, if you do have a destination you want to get to, if you do have a place that you want to be, don't get trapped in the self-help thing. If you're not trying to get somewhere, but if there is some sort of difficulty in your life, again, the books are not going to solve it.
Yeah.
I think that there needs to be a level of self-knowledge, self-understanding, and unless you kind of know yourself and understand yourself, and continually, then we sort of conclude that we're this person, then I'm anxious or I'm depressed, then someone else's can give me the answer for an internal pressure that I have. And the way things get sold to us is, not everybody, we don't have to be heroes. You know, the world is not a theater for your heroism. You know, like you don't have to be a hero, and you don't have to play any part. You just be you, and whatever that version of you is. And the moment that we look at people, each other, is like everything is in terms of the level of, like, from a particular place of winning, or I have to win, I have to get their progress journey. It's like, no, just first be human. And like the other things, career and all those kind of things, are just trimmings. But the more we read self-help, it's never going to help us. It's only going to create,
it can become self-destruction.
So it's only going to create further problem for us, and allow us to get more information on how the ultimate human being should be. You know, like, if further, like, put on shields of, like, I am this, I'm an alpha male, and here's that person, or I'm this type of person that can achieve this, or I've got this thing, I'm this person. So we kind of forget, like, we're humans. Like, how can you have a relationship with someone if always everything is based on heroism, like you being the greatest thing? So you don't need to add any of these things. You don't need any of that. It's not to say, like, sit around and watch TV or whatever, but it's to say, like, no one out there has the solutions. And you know, no one has but just look into every problem you have. Like, where does it arise from? Like, if I have an anxiety, and I do have anxiety and fear, and the moment I realize, like, where is it arising from, then the quickly that I can see, like, it's an internal fight that I have. And it's not to say, like, I don't fear things. I fear them. We're a bundle of fears and anxieties and all those things, but I have those emotions. What stopped is I don't need to look for answers out there. And it's not about accepting me or acceptance of who I am and blah, blah. But it's, I'm able to learn those things, and I can see where they are arising from, where the battle is occurring. And the moment that you can gradually see, or gradually, that's a wrong word, but the moment that you can see yourself in situations where you feel this way, and you can see the root of where it's rising from, then you're able to resolve.
The action is instant.
End. So all my actions are not from a place of I have to do this, or this action will lead to this. It's never. Our show is about, on what we want to talk about is to highlight our hidden motives. You know, like, if you have a hidden motive and intention, every action is so fake. Every action is lacking of love. You know, so I think if we can see our hidden motive in every action, what are we signaling? What are we showing people? What is it, like, what action are we pretending today? So those things, we can leave those ideals in the books that are sold in self-help. I think then the next step is, like, we can all be human, and it's okay to struggle, and you can live uncertain, and there's some sort of beauty in not being accepting lost ideas, and being full of baggage of ideas. You know, like, we get clothed in ideas all our life, and we've got a son, so our job is not to further clothe him with our ideas and to further then perpetuate his existence into what we've seen to come into things. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think sorry, I was long-winded.
No, that's good. You gave really good explanation. So that's it for today. Let us know what you think, if you have any comments, feedback, if this was in any way, I don't know, got something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feedback is the
feedback, I
is
guess.
the thing. It's like we don't want it to be a pompous observation onto people, but it's more a realization that we come to ourselves and that we see, and where we think the danger of something is continuing. And I think we may be wrong, we may be right, but at the end of the day, it's like this is our experience with this thing, and this is what we see in that self-help culture. And ultimately it's your decision, but it's good to have these conversations. And if there is any feedback or suggestions, or even people, if you want to come on,
want to join
once after the lockdown, obviously, and if people want to come on, and like we just talk it out, and at the end of the day, observe and rant.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, thanks guys for watching. We'll be back next week with another episode.
All right, guys,
bye now.